Hi guys! Today, we'll be recapping a story called I Don't Want to Be a Lady. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! Adorned with a white hat and blue dress, her hand with a glove is being kissed by a random guy at the entrance. A clear sign of nobility. However, she snatches away her hand as if it were filthy. She then threw those gloves to her maid, directing her to burn them. She went through her carriage as the murmurs of the women bystanders became so loud, whispering about her, the Lady Angel of House Bornes. Those remarks weren't the type of compliment in her ears. Those were insults to her. Arianne was born into a luxurious house and a family of Bornes. But her wealth doesn't make her special. She is a pauper. There, she almost rotted in her bed, pleading for food alone in a cold room. Her father, Count Bornes, is the tormentor of Arianne, who only thinks of her as a possession that he could sell or rent to anyone anytime. He had never shown any kindness to his own daughter. He made her famished and bullied by their maids as long as she was unscathed. For the maids, tormenting her was a source of entertainment, as it allowed them to display their dominance. The only thing she wanted was some food. It was her birthday that day. At the door, a maid strolled in with a beautifully crafted cake with strawberry toppings. She was greeted by the maid and invited to eat it. It was the first time she had been given a cake in her life. The dazzling cake was in front of Arianne, as it seemed to be a heaven-sent food for her. Before she could take a bite, she was reminded that her maids must serve her and feed her themselves. The maid took a spoonful of cake, then a strawberry and cream. As the cake was about to reach her mouth, she wondered how a cake would taste. Might it be sweet or velvety? Poor Arianne, you deserve better! As she swallowed the cake, she spewed and coughed the cake onto the ground. It wasn't what she thought the cake was. She looked up and checked the sliced cake she had eaten earlier, and it was full of filth. A cake full of dirt and garbage. The maids made a room full of laughter, smirking at poor Arianne, who longed for good food. She did not expect the maids to bully her to that extent. The feeling of anger and sadness groveled through Arianne's eyes as she started to sprint towards the maid who made her pitiful and miserable in life. Arianne started to pluck the maid's hair like corn in a rice field. The maid then ran fast to the Count as if she had reported something horrible, but it was the contrary. The maid who felt successful in her actions expected that the Count would side with her and punish his daughter, yet Count Bornes did not. He instead banished the maid for accusing his daughter. All those years, Arianne realized that it wasn't supposed to happen like that. She could have done that before. She could have taken advantage of everything she had while playing along as a puppet of the Count. Today, as Arianne is being transported in her luxurious and beautiful carriage, she can't help but notice a different yet simple carriage along the way. Seeing the plain black carriage with just the family crest, it was immediately understood that the people inside were wealthy. But it wasn't. In her mind, her possessions, including the carriage, formed a tightly wrapped present, with herself as the item to be sold and revealed. In the house of Bornes, there she eavesdrops on her father's room, conversing with a woman where he mentions that he had chosen a candidate as Arianne's future husband or partner. She immediately went to her room, trying to play a game of darts to lessen her anger upon hearing that she'd be sold as a mistress of the Crown Prince. She certainly would not agree to it. The main reason the Crown Prince already has 5 mistresses, and a pervert at that, are clear signs of him being a red flag to her. All her plans to obtain a dowry to support her freedom out of her family will come down the drain if that happens. Aside from all that, she had a game plan. A way to destroy her father is to find other wealthy men to marry her. She comes up with a paper about the background and history of the man she has chosen. She then dresses up in clothes that are kind of revealing her body. A dress that would make her stand out in the crowd. Her dress was based on the Crown Prince's preference. At the social gathering, a horn was blown to recognize their presence, and there announced the Count's name and Arianne's. As expected, the murmurs of the people clouded the whole room. Hearing different opinions from different people made her a little bit angry while maintaining her angelic face and poise. Count Bornes then left his daughter in the middle of the audience, for he was being summoned to see the Crown Prince. Minutes later, she was approached by different noblemen trying to get close to her. Then Lady Prod steps in, together with other ladies and novelties. Lady Prod tries to be acquainted with Arianne, and so she has a conversation with her. To Arianne's surprise, she was being remarked upon by the lady in her vulgar dress. She is being compared to the Crown Prince's other mistresses. Lady Prod advises her that she must dress properly, for it reflects how a lady must appear modest. Hearing the lady's insults seemed to work on Arianne. She was displeased. She makes a scene where she appears to collapse onto the ground helplessly. She displayed a pathetic side of herself. On the other hand, one of the Crown Prince's mistresses enters the scene, interrupting Lady Prod's short drama. She approaches Lady Prod as if she's about to kill her with her on-point sarcasm and threatening words. She overheard their conversation about the Crown Prince's taste for vulgarly dressed women. The Crown Prince's mistress confronts Lady Prod for being too nosy and insulting the Crown Prince's taste in women. Their quarrel suddenly became a chance for Arianne to escape the scene without them noticing. Though rarely seen in society, this tall man with hair described as rare obsidian shade in older portraits was famous for his handsome features, a reputation that preceded his actual presence. This was similar to Arianne, who also seemed to have a reputation that existed independently of her public appearances. She looks for the particular man she saw in the papers whom she can benefit from. In the middle of her search, there she was being sought by someone she once knew, a yellow-haired guy who's obsessed with her. But she never once liked him, so she tried to hide among the people's shadows to avoid him completely. She then reached a place where she found the person she had been looking for, Duke Cayenne, who has an appearance that can compare to hers. Target locked. The Duke has met all the required features of what Arianne wants as a husband and will become a part of her plan. While everyone in the room is busy interacting with other people, Arianne takes the chance to follow the Duke upstairs to have a conversation with him. The Duke then enters a room with red curtains. Arianne stops at the moment and summarized all the information she had from the Duke. By the time she was about to open the door curtain, the Duke suddenly swiped the curtain to check if he was being followed. There he found in front of him was a fine white-haired lady. Arianne wasn't prepared upon the Duke's sudden appearance. She did not panic, though. She calmly invites the Duke into her room, where she will leave her handkerchief in the windows to create an opening. The Duke was still confused in Arianne's actions when suddenly she brought up the topic they would be discussing later. She would be proposing a plan that could benefit both of them greatly. She then takes her exit as she bumps into someone who spilled food on her dress. She reassured the lady whom she bumped into that everything was all right as she gazed back into the Duke's eyes, whispering that he should visit her room. In her room, Arianne is sitting on her couch, passed out from exhaustion. She is supposed to be awake, for she is the one who told the Duke that he would meet her, but here she is, sleeping. The Duke enters the window, staring at her being a sleepyhead. Duke Chart waited for almost 5 hours or more, hoping that Arianne would wake up any minute. As Arianne was about to gain consciousness, she vividly saw the Duke in a closer look. That is when she realized she had already woken up in the morning, drooling. The Duke apparently knocked on her windows many times, but no one opened it. She consistently told him that he could have woken her up. For the Duke has some respect for Arianne, he could not wake and interrupt her rest, for it would be seen as rude. Those statements of the Duke made her face flush with embarrassment and excitement. She insisted that next time he should wake her up instead of staring at her all night. To compensate for the Duke, she directly opened the topic, getting down to business. She then presented a ledger that belonged to her father. The Duke can't help but to notice Arianne's act of betrayal to her father. Arianne then explains. She chose to betray him since the Count would soon be selling her to the Crown Prince at a high price, which she doesn't approve of. Arianne doesn't have any intentions to become anyone's property. The Duke then asks her what he can do to offer in return for the ledger, his approval for a marriage. Arianne plans to marry him contractually just for a year before their marriage will cease. Within the year of their marriage, Arianne plans to acquire a handsome amount of dowry from the Duke, enough to have pocket money upon their separation. All of these terms were simple to the Duke, but he's worried about one thing: her father's approval. The Duke's worry was expected by Arianne, so she proposed another plan to force her father to approve of their arranged marriage. It was to have both of them seal the marriage in bed. Duke Chart was shocked by this and kind of panicked, but it was the least of their worries. Just like their marriage, they would just put on an act in order to lure everyone that both of them are dating. Arianne's proposal took a lot of the Duke's thoughts and strain, so he asked her to wait and think it through. Hours passed. Arianne lost her temper waiting for the Duke's reply. She grabs the ledger and threatens him that she'll find another man to agree with her proposal. Upon hearing this, the Duke immediately agreed. "You're one hell of a guy, Duke. So indecisive." All the while he was thinking the whole afternoon, he was thinking about Arianne's reputation being put into ruins if her father were soon to become a failure to society. Nonetheless, she doesn't care about the aftermath since she is used to being bullied and being humiliated, so rumors and speculations were just a piece of cake to her. After their talks, they ended with an agreement, and the proposal was a deal. The Duke prepared a terms of agreement or contract to be signed by both of them. The contents couldn't be more specific from their actual marriage down to the diamond mines. After signing, Duke Chart asks Arianne what steps he would take after meeting her. Arianne only lets him handle it by himself as he starts to call her by her actual name, Arianne, instead of my lady. Of course, Arianne did the same thing. She calls him at the moment as Chart. Chart makes his exit at the entrance door of Arianne's room, the opposite way where he came in. Then Arianne realizes that he should have made his exit at the window where he came in. If anyone had seen him walking out of her room, they would suspect something immediately. But all these were part of the Duke's plan. The maids who were on standby at the hall immediately notice the Duke's passing by. While in Arianne's room, she's panicking to the point that her head would boil. She expected a call from her father at any minute, looking forward to any unpleasant reaction from her father. Then the time came when she was summoned by her father and was ready to be hit by him, but suddenly, her father did nothing. He commended his daughter for being useful to him. But as her father was about to exit, he turned back and clenched Arianne's arm so tightly that it left a mark on her skin. He highlighted that wherever Arianne is being sold to, she's gonna belong to the House of Bornes. Such a terrible father you are! Later on, she was being dragged by the maids to her room. The next 2 mornings, the Duke arrived at her house as usual to visit her, as if Arianne has been waiting for her Prince Charming. At the table, Arianne was looking so upset at Chart. Chart had an excuse for it. He apparently did it to see her father directly and offered him something he couldn't refuse. He offered him the Cayenne family diamond and emerald mines. Upon hearing this, Arianne is in disbelief, for their engagement includes the mines that should be given to Arianne after the wedding. Arianne is so frustrated for losing her supposed-to-be diamond mines. Chart only sighed in disappointment. It turns out that the mines given were just a chunk of the Chart's family wealth and fortune. They still have more mines to give to Arianne. Arianne understood Chart's conviction to make her plan work. Chart asks her about the other day when she avoided him bringing the marriage proposal. She refuses to elaborate that day, and instead she asks him back. Arianne asks him about the second prince's involvement in giving the diamond mines. It seems that Chart already predicted that the second prince would become the new emperor in the near future. Through their transactions, it would even help Arianne in her situation. She doesn't care about the second prince, though. All she wants is the huge amount of alimony. In her mind, she realizes how men in their country can do anything. Like him having the chance to fail, Chart can still opt for other available things, for doors can be open to men eventually, unlike women. Arianne felt uneasy at the moment, so she made an excuse to avoid the conversation. Then later, the Duke left the house as Arianne looked at him from the windows. Looking back, the Duke was once a child who lost his father for a mysterious reason. He and his mother thought that the previous Duke died naturally, yet the young Duke overheard the conversation between his uncle and the head maid, in who seemed to have plotted his father's death. Above it all, the Duchess did not appeal to anyone upon her husband's death, for she wouldn't be hurt anyway. As long as she's a woman and Chart was still a child, there can be no justice for anything that has happened. Now, he has all the power to punish his uncle and face the sentence given to him for murdering his father. To start the day, Arianne planned to have a date with the Duke without his knowledge to spread the rumors faster about their relationship. She suggested that they go and see the theater since she has never been out and she wants to try something new. At the theater, where the VIPs are being seated, she saw the grandiose theater for the first time in her life. Act 1 ended, and Arianne poured tears out of her eyes. She must have enjoyed the show. All the while she was crying, her makeup wore off and she had to go to the restroom to fix it. On her way to the restroom, there she finds a buff and big man in the hallway staring at her, and she seems to expect who it would be. Suddenly, she's being carried by the guy, making her leave her hat on the ground without any resistance. Inside an abandoned room, there she sat in the space and calmly talked to the stranger. Her guesses were right that she's being kidnapped by someone her father was indebted to, and he wants to take revenge on him by kidnapping his daughter. Arianne's words were on point. It left the guy off guard, so she immediately struck her kick towards the guy's balls. Hilarious! Of all the spots, the man's weakness was the one who got hit! She then left the poor guy in pain as she heard that Act 2 of the play is going to start any minute. In the shadows of the room, there was the Duke, who came out and seemed suspicious. Back on their date, Arianne and Cayenne went outside to show off their relationship. Their plan works! Inside their carriage, she throws a tantrum because she was so angry at the Count. All these years he kept her in the dark and did not see the beautiful plays in the theater. Cayenne assures her that they'll have to see the theater the next time they meet. They were dropped off at an unfamiliar place to Arianne, the market. The Duke was so worried secretly about Arianne for how she single-handedly took down the culprit and found out his purpose confidently. Not something a normal noblewoman to do. It just means that she has seen enough horrors in her life that she isn't scared of anything happening to her. Arianne then suggested borrowing from Chart to purchase some delicacies in the market. She also asked Cayenne for money, like 4 to 7 silver coins, just to enjoy herself buying things in the market. All the while, Chart is being amused by her actions, the opposite of what some standard noblewoman would do. They then reach the corner where a painter paints portraits of people. Cayenne suggests that they both should get one to enhance the people's suspicions about them. There in the market, the murmurs of the people seeing them together become noticeable as they were done being painted by the painter. The women who were witnessing their love, though in act, saw it as something close to real. The two of them played like lovers in a theater. They both started holding each other's hands, which made the public even more surprised. What a display, you two! Arianne suggests that they must also try drinking beers located nearby, but the Duke refuses since she is still not at the age to drink those. Quite disappointed, she opts to drink iced tea instead. Since the line for the iced tea is too long, she requests Cayenne to get in line for her and have her iced tea. While Cayenne was out, he left his bodyguard to protect Arianne. Arianne is standing at a stall and happily imagining how she was out of the house for the first time in her life. Suddenly, when the guard was distracted, a strange man kidnapped Arianne so fast that it didn't alert the guard. Arianne is unfazed despite the thug's threats, even bold enough to declare that she doesn't have anything with her. Baffled by her calm demeanor, the boss eventually draws his sword on her, but she still retains her composure. Having had enough, the thugs decide to sell her off, but she mocks him as she draws a gun hidden and strapped around her leg. She shoots the boss in the crotch, making it very clear that she missed his valued goods on purpose. Realizing they made a grave mistake by messing with her, the boss calls for a retreat, but this is only met with a menacing yet disingenuous smile. Seeing this, the boss quickly pleads for his life. Arianne then shoos them away. Shortly after, Chart arrives, gravely worried about her. Confused, she wonders if Chart even bothered to catch his breath while searching for her. She then asks if he's only worried because of the ledger, which only annoys Chart. Arianne never really knew what it felt like for people to be concerned about her, so this feeling is pretty much alien to her. Chart tells her it's only normal for a fiancé to be concerned about his fiancée. Embarrassed, she awkwardly offers to buy him iced tea since he isn't holding any. She then tells him she's going to hang out with him for now, which puts a smile on Chart's face, as it would be an honor for him. Dale begs Arianne to have him executed for failing his duty as her knight. He was so distracted by other matters earlier that he wasn't able to pay close attention to Arianne's safety. She then reminds Dale that she was recently kidnapped, and now he's saying things like having him executed? Naturally, this would be a shock for Arianne, but Chart knows that this isn't actually the case. Arianne then tells Dale that they should just consider this his debt. She then asks him to stop embarrassing her by kneeling before her in public, especially since a knight's kneel carries so much weight. As Arianne and Chart continue to enjoy their day, they stumble upon a vendor selling good quality hair ornaments. However, she pretends to be uninterested, unless, of course, Chart would get it for her. So without hesitation, he does so. Chart then asks Arianne if she's fond of the color blue, since most of the clothes and dresses she wears are light, similar to the ornament he just gave her. She becomes speechless, as she never thought anyone would notice that. In fact, she used to admire the color blue since it's bright as the sky. Suddenly, Arianne is shoved, causing the hair ornament to fall. She can't believe that the hairpiece she just put on is now broken. A strange man then confronts a kid, telling her that she should pay for the damages. Arianne uses this opportunity to invoke Dale's debt to punish the strange man who's making such a fuss. Chart asks why she did so, but she simply says she was annoyed. He then teases her, pointing out that she was upset that the hair ornament she initially didn't want was broken. Shortly after, Chart turns to the kids Arianne recently helped, paying them to braid flowers into Arianne's hair. After all, the flowers are similar to the colors of her broken ornament, so it would make a good replacement. Afterward, the two continue to enjoy the night in the bustling city as they dance amidst the townsfolk. Upon returning to his household, Chart is greeted by his butler, who doesn't seem to notice the warm expression on his face. Suddenly, a messenger bird arrives carrying a message from the west. Chart swiftly dons his coat, promptly heading to the palace. Meanwhile, Madeleine informs Arianne about the latest news. She claims that when she went out earlier on an errand, she heard people talking about Arianne and Duke Cayenne. Madeleine tells her that the people admired the unprecedented sight of the two, seeming like the perfect match. Hearing this, Arianne is amused that the plan is going well. Arianne's plan is to reduce suspicion about them as a couple. Then, when they eventually get married, she'll use the opportunity to divorce and get her paycheck. That way she'll finally be secure and free. Just then, Arianne asks if there are any unfavorable rumors spreading around aside from the good ones. Madeleine then tells her about other rumors that are circulating. How Count Bornes is blackmailing her and that she, Arianne, is using her appearance to seduce Chart. But Madeleine reassures Arianne that the positive rumors are more widespread. However, Arianne doesn't mind at all because in truth, she did use blackmail. Suddenly, a letter from Duke Cayenne arrives, exciting Arianne, or at least she pretends to be. But the contents of the letter disappoint her. It details her wedding with Chart happening as soon as possible. If troubles arise, it's no longer her problem but Chart's. Because of Chart's persistence, she thinks he's very cunning. Right now, Arianne is visiting her father, who is as shrewd and perceptive as ever. Not only does the letter discuss her marriage with Chart, but Arianne is also requested to stay at Duke Cayenne's residence until the wedding. Since this is too forceful for her, she needs to know if her father is on the same page. Unexpectedly, Count Bornes wants her to make her own decision. However, he notes that if she pursues the wedding, there will be no financial support from the family. Exasperated, Arianne wonders if this was his plan all along. She then realizes that this outcome is typical given her father's personality. 2 days later, her father's mistress, Irene, asks if she's actually leaving for the wedding. Irene notes that it is tradition for mothers to help prepare for their daughters' weddings, but since Arianne no longer has a mother, Irene thought of giving her a present. Disgusted, Arianne wonders why Irene is acting like family now of all times. Irene then states that she really has no choice, to which Arianne agrees. Women in the Empire have no future whatsoever. Upon returning to her room, Arianne finds all her things ransacked. After seeing that her room is trashed, Arianne immediately looks for the secret ledger. Unfortunately, as she suspected, it's now gone. Troubled, she wonders if her father is responsible. If that's the case, she's doomed for sure. Arianne then considers asking Chart for help, but she thinks this is futile. Without the ledger, he won't bother assisting her. With few options left, she quickly decides to run away with the jewelry box Irene gave her. As she makes her escape, she encounters Madeleine, who's carrying the very item Arianne has been searching for. Arianne confronts her, demanding to know why she's holding the ledger. Apparently, Madeleine never liked Arianne. Her first impression of her? A girl with doll-like beauty but with no soul. But what confused Madeleine was that despite Arianne being the legitimate daughter, she was treated like trash as a child. On her 11th birthday, an incident occurred where Arianne finally fought back against the maids. Madeleine was amused by Arianne's predatory behavior, but now with Arianne soon to be married to Duke Cayenne, Madeleine assumed she would be impervious to manipulation. This was when Madeleine realized she wanted to support Arianne in whatever she pursued. Earlier, when Count Bornes asked the maids to search Arianne's belongings, Madeleine secured the ledger. Now, Arianne frantically asks Madeleine why she did such a thing, to which she responds that she only wants Arianne to get out safely. Shortly after, Arianne tells Madeleine to pack her things. Madeleine thinks she's about to be dismissed, but Arianne tells her she's coming along to the Cayenne residence. Hearing this, Madeleine is overjoyed. The following day, as they are on their way to the Duke's house, Madeleine wonders if Arianne has any plans. Arianne replies that she'll just see how it goes, reassuring Madeleine not to worry too much. As Arianne enters the residence, she is greeted by Layla Rombocchio, who claims to have met Arianne at the ball. However, Arianne does not recognize her at all. She knows Layla cannot be Chart's sister since he does not have one, and she also doubts that Layla is the matriarch. Arianne decides to rub it in Layla's face that she does not remember her, which subtly angers Layla. Shortly after, the matriarch, Dolores Cayenne, arrives and explains that Layla is the daughter of a close friend. Apparently, Layla is staying at the Cayenne residence while she completes her education in the capital. Dolores regrets not scolding Layla properly, which has led to her poor behavior in front of the Duke's fiancé. In contrast, Arianne remains very prim and proper. Just then, Chart, from his duties, sees the girls chatting. He kneels and kisses Arianne's hand, apologizing for not being able to fetch her himself. This bewilders Layla, who has never witnessed such a gesture. Soon after, Arianne confronts Chart about his sudden request for her to stay at his residence, suspecting he has a motive. Chart explains that Keltman has already subdued the Last Kingdom. Keltman is power-hungry and enjoys expanding his territory, so Chart is naturally alarmed by this development. He notes he will be busy addressing these matters, which is why Arianne is here, for her safety. Chart claims that staying at the residence is best for both of them, and Arianne agrees. She also mentions bringing the accounting books, which makes Chart grin. Meanwhile, Layla lashes out because Arianne ignored her. She also resents how Chart kissed Arianne's hand, something he has never done for her. Layla curses Arianne, convinced she must have schemed to get her way in. At dinner, Layla arrives late and tries to make Arianne jealous by flirting with Chart, but he discourages her. Layla then attempts to boast that she's closer to Chart, suggesting that Arianne is just an interloper. Annoyed, Arianne calls Dolores' attention and asks if she may call her mother since they're now family, clearly to provoke Layla. In disbelief, Layla stands up in frustration. Dolores promptly ends the dinner to prevent the situation from escalating further, now annoyed at Layla for creating a scandal on Arianne's first day. Later, Chart apologizes for what happened, but explains he cannot simply expel Layla because she's the daughter of Dolores' dearest friend. He apologizes again, and Arianne understands. Still, Arianne wants to make it clear to everyone that she is Chart's fiancé, so no one will disrespect their relationship, even if it is bound only by contract. Out of the blue, Chart also informs her that there will be another ball. Meanwhile, Layla cannot believe the disrespect she has received, especially since Arianne was able to get what she, Layla, had always wanted. Madeleine expresses her sadness, noting that not once did Arianne look for her since she arrived. However, Arianne ignores her sentiment and proceeds to ask if Madeleine knows any jeweler, which Madeleine excitedly affirms. Last night, Chart informed Arianne that there would be a royal ball, and at the same time a hunting competition. Arianne suspects that something must be going on for both events to occur at once. Chart affirms this, stating that they received a sudden message that an envoy from Keltman is coming. Given that, it is certain the Emperor could be involved. Upon hearing this, Arianne is troubled because she won't be receiving any financial support from her family. At present, Madeleine is also concerned that Arianne has to sell the jewelry given to her. Arianne then jokes that if Madeleine is so worried, she should have given her money instead. Madeleine asks whether she should sell all the jewelry, but Arianne notes that she should leave a certain piece. Madeleine tells her it would still sell at a good price, but this just irks Arianne, who once again tells her to leave it alone. Later that day, Dale arrives to be of service to Arianne once again. Before they leave, Madeleine informs her that the place where they're about to sell the jewelry is not exactly legal. This means it would be difficult to bring Dale with them, knowing he's a noble knight. Arianne then comes up with the idea of making Dale buy something, fully dismissing him from his escort duties. She reassures Dale that she'll be escorted by Madeleine instead, and Dale can't help but acquiesce. After Dale leaves, Arianne and Madeleine rush toward the secret shop. Just as they head toward their destination, someone suddenly grabs Arianne's hand. It's a drunk man. Though Arianne is obviously uncomfortable and resisting, the drunk man seems to have no intention of letting her go. This makes her fume with anger, appalled at his boldness. Having had enough, she beats the man, rendering him incapacitated. Shocked, Madeleine thinks Arianne killed someone, but Arianne just tells her to keep going. The drunk man is apparently Prince Pacu, and it's unbelievable that Arianne was able to do that to him. After their errand, Arianne and Madeleine return to Dale, thanking him and asking him to take them back to the mansion. Now that they have money, Arianne can buy a dress for the ball. Later, Chart informs Arianne that she'll be given bridal lessons from Dolores. But who knew it would be so exhausting to have a bridal lesson? Arianne is even happy that there's an upcoming event where Dolores has to attend, so she won't have to have a bridal lesson on that day. Right now, Arianne is choosing a gun for herself, unsurprisingly knowledgeable about such weapons. Arianne admires the royal shooting range for its impressive variety of choices. Dale is shocked by how much knowledge Arianne has. He's so fascinated he can hardly believe it. Suddenly, a gentleman arrives, presumptuous and assuming that Arianne is there to see him, not to practice shooting. Insulted by his tactless words and behavior, Arianne confronts him. Madeleine then suspects that the man's days are numbered. The man claims it's because Arianne is sitting in his usual spot, which everyone supposedly knows, and that this means she must be interested in him. Arianne explains that she didn't know and that the staff specifically guided her to that seat. The man boldly asserts that, as the Empire's finest marksman, there's an unspoken rule about his seat. He then introduces himself as Glock Colt, the eldest son of the Colt family. Arianne is impressed by his boldness, but she's ready to challenge him for the spot. After hearing this, Glock proposes to teach Arianne how to shoot. Arianne tells him she doesn't agree with his proposal. Rather, she's interested in wagering who rightfully owns the spot they both want. Unsurprisingly, Glock loses both his dignity and his claim to the spot, as Arianne wins by a landslide. In disbelief, Glock lashes out. He claims that the target is rigged, accusing them of conspiring. An employee tells Glock that his unjust accusations will be reported, prompting him to lash out further and say meaner things to Arianne. Arianne then introduces herself, horrifying Glock when he hears her name. He kneels in defeat as he realizes the grave mistake he's made. Dale tells Arianne that if she's willing, he will punish the man, but she says there's no need. Later that night, when Arianne and her company return, a maid tells her that Layla has been waiting for her. Layla offers tea, wanting to apologize for her previous actions. However, Arianne doesn't accept her apology. Instead, she provokes Layla by saying she spent the night with Chart, irritating her. In anger, Layla accidentally spills her drink on herself and quickly storms off to change. Shortly after, Sebastian, the butler, informs Arianne that she has a visitor waiting for her. Navier Belrun pays a visit to his beloved sister, but Arianne is unamused by his unprecedented visit. Navier will soon be the one to inherit the title of Count of Bornes. She reminds Navier never to call her sister since they're not even siblings. She wonders if her father even cares if she is sent off, since apparently all the Count is worried about is the mine. She then tells Navier that if he has nothing left to say, he should just leave. Navier notes that tomorrow is Arianne's birthday, wishing her an early greeting. He just wanted to tell her this in person. After Navier leaves, Arianne wonders how he knows about her birthday. Meanwhile, Navier thinks about how his fate has changed. A woman could never be the heir to the Bornes title, which is why a relative like him had to be chosen to assume the title. Ooh, we're getting a flashback. Since Navier was the second-born, he was expected to inherit the Bornes title, much wealthier compared to his older brother who succeeded their own house. But little did Navier know that this would strain his relationship with his brother. But one day, he overheard his family's plans of eliminating him, scheming to inherit the wealth of Bornes. Knowing that his life was in danger, he then realized just how much he wanted to live. And ever since that day, Navier became a member of the Bornes family. At a young age, he was introduced to Arianne, his cousin. However, he always felt hostility from her. Arianne was as unapproachable as ever, but this did not stop Navier from treating her like his own sister. But despite her mean personality, it was nothing compared to what he had to endure in his original home. Yet when he became isolated in his own room because he had to study, he often caught Arianne by his doorstep. But Arianne still refused to welcome him, unwilling to share her home. It was then that it dawned on Navier that Arianne just saw him as someone who would steal her place. But for some reason, he resonated with her. He too was neglected once. Every time Arianne gave him spoiled cake, he ate it, even to the point of getting sick. He did all of that so Arianne would be spared. He cares about her after all. At present, Navier was worried that Arianne had been sold, but fortunately, she is just living at Cayenne's residence, where she is free. This at least puts Navier at ease. The next morning, Arianne is presented with a cake by Dolores, and she is obviously skeptical about it. Arianne is obviously having a hard time accepting the cake. After all her experiences with cake have been traumatic. Even though she knows that people here actually care for her, it's still a tough pill for her to swallow. Chart then encourages Arianne to eat the cake, reminding her that many people worked hard to prepare such a meal for her. Realizing this, she accedes to his request. After eating, Chart wishes to talk to Arianne in private, which once again angers Layla, who is present. Chart takes Arianne to the terrace so they can drink beer, just like he promised her back then. She jokingly points out that if this is his birthday gift for her, it pales in comparison to Dolores, who spoiled her with a beautiful dress. The two celebrate Arianne's birthday with some beer, but Chart seems reluctant to drink. Arianne, on the other hand, appears knowledgeable and encourages him. Chart begins to feel the effects of alcohol and slowly gets dizzy. Unaware, he leans forward, getting closer to Arianne, who starts to blush. The two are about to kiss, but Arianne thinks it's too soon. Without thinking twice, she punches him in the nose, leaving Chart bleeding and unconscious. He isn't seen again until the royal ball. On the day of the royal ball, Chart seems to avoid Arianne's gaze, regretting how he drank so thoughtlessly. He knew he couldn't handle alcohol, yet he still chose to drink because he wanted Arianne to be happy. Meanwhile, Layla is annoyed by Chart and Arianne, who are clearly flirting. Her annoyance deepens when Dolores tells her they will be separated into pairs in the carriage. Arianne and Chart draw attention and whispers from the people as they enter the ballroom. Arianne politely excuses herself when Dolores quickly introduces her to her acquaintances. Moments later, Layla tries to approach Chart, but his attention is quickly grabbed as he learns that the second prince is waiting for him. Feeling disappointed, a group of women approaches Layla, giving her harsh remarks. Layla knew she was just a daughter of a rural viscount. She thought of leveraging her mother's friendship with the Duchess Cayenne, hoping it would help her raise to the pinnacle of society and even become the Duchess herself. However, these hopes and plans are quickly shattered when Arianne comes along. The herald calls everyone's attention as he announces the members of the Empire. Arianne finally meets the second prince. He notices her and smiles. Afterwards, Chart appears at her side. Where has he been? When Chart was away, he meets with the second prince and reports that he's having a contractual marriage with Arianne in exchange for the secret ledger of the Bornes family, an item that could weaken the crown prince's faction. Prince Rudin asks Chart if he plans to divorce her after a year, raising the issue of producing heirs. Chart replies that he will abide by the terms written in the contract, but Rudin doesn't seem convinced. To him, it's merely a show to watch things unfold between them. The Emperor thanks the guests for attending a spontaneous ball. He welcomes Prince Pacu from the Kelpman Empire. As the prince enters the ballroom, Arianne seems to find his face familiar. He's the drunk scoundrel that she knocked out in the alley. Oh my goodness, Arianne made his nose bleed that day. She quickly hides behind Chart, hoping that the prince doesn't see her. Chart considers how Harpion's nobles will react now that the Emperor officially recognizes the Kelpman Empire, aware that ignoring could spark diplomatic conflict. The ballroom is filled with whispers, some openly showing their hostility against the Kelpman. Suddenly, Arianne sees Lady Shoshime in a heated disagreement for defending the Kelpman Empire against the barbarian accusations. The disagreement doesn't seem to catch not only Arianne's attention, but also Prince Pacu's as well. The ladies who disagree with Shoshime, Naime, and Amina awkwardly introduce themselves when Arianne appears at Shoshime's side. Arianne asks if she could join their conversation. Naime shares her distress that the Kelpman is recognized as an empire. Shoshime warns them against insulting the Kelpman Empire, but Arianne stops Shoshime from speaking, expressing the same opinion as Shoshime. She tells Naime and Amina that their actions equate to insulting the Emperor. They quickly grow defensive and excuse themselves. After they leave, Prince Pacu approaches Arianne and Shoshime. This is the moment Arianne has been avoiding all evening. The prince expresses discomfort in his jaw, then asks Arianne if she has any idea why. She quickly replies that the jaw weakens with age, then leaves. The prince seems to be smitten by her reply. As she leaves, she meets Count Colt, Glock's father. He urges her to cancel the duel in the Imperial shooting range, calling it unfair. But Arianne stands firm, and the Count loses his temper, until the second prince intervenes. Seriously? That marksman had to have his father handle this situation? How embarrassing! Across the room, Chart asks Count Bornes if Arianne goes out much. He replies that she goes out only to volunteer at the orphanage. Chart quickly understands Arianne's simple joys in life. Chart spots Arianne across the room and asks why they are with his betrothed. The second prince replies that Count and Arianne had an interesting conversation, just as the Count excuses himself. He then asks her to dance with him, and she happily agrees. As beautiful harmonies fill the room, Arianne dances with joy, and Chart can't help but smile as he watches her. The Emperor announces that in honor of Prince Pacu, a royal hunting tournament will be hosted in 2 days. Arianne reads the rules of the tournament. As she had expected, only nobles are eligible to participate, and the winner gets the title Baron. On the day of the tournament, Layla is shocked to hear that Arianne will be participating in the tournament. Arianne, with unwavering confidence, reassures Chart, saying that she will prove her worth at the tournament. He considered stopping her from participating, but the determination in her eyes held him back. Instead, he decides to support her. As Arianne and Chart step foot in the tournament, they are immediately met with harsh whispers and gossip. Count Prod, a member of the Crown Prince's faction, expresses his harsh remarks regarding Arianne's outfit, saying it puts both Cayenne and the Bornes family in bad light. Break those traditional norms, Arianne! Chart informs Count Prod that Arianne will be participating in the tournament. Upon hearing this, Count Prod is visibly triggered, making a scene. The commotion catches the Emperor's attention. Count Prod informs the Emperor that a woman will be participating in the event. This doesn't seem to bother the Emperor, as the rules didn't specify any gender restrictions for noble participants. Various noble participants oppose this idea, but the Emperor gives his support to Arianne. During a tournament, women traditionally give handkerchiefs to participants as good luck tokens. Madeleine, standing behind Arianne, worries that Arianne won't receive one. But to her surprise, Navier steps forward and offers a handkerchief to Arianne. Arianne accepts the handkerchief with a blank face and asks how Navier knows she's participating. He answers that he came to collect the decree issued by the Emperor, but Madeleine had already taken it. She asks why he's interested in the Bornes family's decree when he has his own with the de Boulogne family. He doesn't answer. Arianne doesn't wait for an answer and attempts to leave, but he tells her that he'll wait for her return. The Emperor announces that he expects a fair competition, as the tournament is held in honor of Prince Pacu. He states the rules of the game and sets a time limit until 5 p.m. As he's about to begin the tournament, he is abruptly interrupted by the Crowned Prince. The Crowned Prince proposes a twist to the usual scoring system. He designates a prize animal marked with a golden ribbon to be hunted. Whoever hunts this animal down declares to be the winner. Rudin notices his pleased expression on the Crown Prince's face. He only looks like that when he's tormenting Rudin or watching him suffer. What is this prized animal? Could it be… No, the Crown Prince can't be that crazy, right? The moment Rudin realizes, he rushes to Chart, panting and breathing heavily. His state concerns Chart. He begs Chart to come with him to the palace, and he will explain everything on the way. Chart hesitates, glancing at Arianne. She assures him and promises that she will only hunt near the entrance. He reminds her not to cross the red line in the deep forest, and she nods. As they run toward the palace, Arianne waves back. During the tournament, Navier is upset. His brother burned their decree, preventing him from participating. He only wanted to accompany Arianne. Despite being mistreated by Arianne, he still makes an effort to be a good family member to her. He composes himself and decides to cheer for her wholeheartedly, knowing that Arianne, with her exceptional shooting skills, will hunt down the prized animal. Back in the palace, at the same time the tournament is taking place, Rudin calls out for Emily in a panic. Chart tries to reassure her that Emily is hiding around the castle, as she usually does. But Rudin knows something is off. The Crown Prince's expression is too unsettling. He only ever looks like that during Rudin's misfortune. Could it be that the prized animal is Emily, Rudin's beloved ermine? Rudin is restless. He knows that his brother would undoubtedly do an act without guilt or sympathy, for the Crown Prince's happiness is his misfortune. Rudin's ermine was named after his mother, concubine Milia. When the Crown Prince Mozar was born, the Empress discovered Milia's pregnancy with the Emperor, enraging her. Milia feared that the Empress would harm her child and family, so she agreed to become a concubine. Tragically, she died after childbirth, leaving Rudin with the Empress. After Milia's death, the Empress eliminated her family, forcing them to flee the Empire. But before leaving, the remaining family members secretly visited Rudin, giving him a white ermine, their family's symbol, and asked him to one day become the Emperor. He vowed and promised the family that he will become the Emperor. That's a pretty sad story. Seeing Rudin distressed, Chart immediately suggests visiting the hunting grounds before Emily gets killed. In the hunting grounds, Arianne sees the prize animal. It is indeed an ermine. She strategizes on getting the prized animal, but is troubled as there are wolves below the ermine. Suddenly, the wolves spot the ermine and charge at Arianne. Cornered, she shoots the wolves one by one. As she turns around, a wolf lunges at her but is struck by an arrow. She wonders who helped her, but her attention quickly shifts to the ermine. She carries the ermine and removes the ribbon, afraid the other participants will realize she's found the prized animal. Suddenly, two men appear, making an assumption that Arianne had received help in killing those wolves. She feels offended. Moments later, the two men suggest leaving the wolves behind, but Arianne knows the tactic. She isn't going to let them take her kills. Arianne glares at them, wanting to kill them. She feels a small scratch on her leg. It's the ermine. The man shouts at her while she picks up the ermine. Annoyed, she gives up the wolves and walks away. After all, she has the prized animal. A man sits on a branch of a tree holding a bow. It's Prince Pacu. Has he been watching them all this time? Oh, so it was him who shot the last wolf. Prince Pacu wonders why Arianne hasn't lost her temper like she did on their first meeting. He's also in disbelief that she gives the men her catch. He's astonished by the kind of woman she is, showing different sides in every situation, from a dignified noble lady to a skilled participant. As Arianne walks away, talking to the ermine, someone calls out for her. It's Prince Rudin, worried and breathless. He asks Arianne to hand him Emily, the ermine, but she firmly refuses as it's her catch. He tries to explain that the ermine isn't a prey, but is shocked to see that there is no golden ribbon. Arianne takes out the golden ribbon, confirming that it was indeed the Mozar's doing. He begs her to return Emily to his arms, as she is his family. She argues that she won't be giving her away because she's determined to earn the title, but Rudin tells her that she won't be getting it either way. She insists she can, with his help. She offers Emily in exchange for his support to claim a title, after she presents Emily to the Emperor. He agrees, but she must return Emily unharmed or she will pay the price. He offers her a ring as a token. Whoever brings this ring to the Emperor will be granted a wish. Chart appears moments later and notices that Arianne and Rudin seem close. Arianne shows him the ermine, declaring her victory and once again confirming that the Mozart chose Emily as the prized animal. He smiles at her and congratulates her. Rudin is flabbergasted to see Chart act so unlikely other than his cold self. Noticing Rudin's expression, he asks him why he's staring like a fool. Arianne then asks if they should head back, and Chart happily replies. Layla's fancy dress feels pointless in the blazing heat. As she fans herself, she overhears women gossiping about Arianne. She silently agrees with the group of women, saying that Arianne can't even hunt down a squirrel. The others mock and look down at Arianne until Lady Alice appears. She tells the ladies that nobody should let their talents go to waste despite their gender. Layla hears this and tenses up. She drifts into her thoughts with questions about security and their future. Moments later, Arianne arrives with the ermine in her hands. Behind her are Chart and Prince Rudin. Everyone, even Navier, is astonished to see her with the prized animal. Moser can't believe his eyes. Everybody starts sharing whispers and gossip. Will she be the first woman to receive a title? The Emperor asks Arianne if she truly caught the ermine, and she nods. He appears to be displeased in knowing that the prize animal is Rudin's ermine. He thinks to himself that Moser is unfit to rule the Empire, knowing the ermine meant a great deal to his brother Rudin. Moser angrily interrupts, accusing Arianne of not catching the ermine herself. He's certain that Rudin and Duke Cayenne helped her since they were behind her when she entered. The people and the other nobles side with the crown prince. Suddenly, the two men arrive with several wolves in their cart, yet everyone knows that the reward will still go to Arianne. But how? A woman can't be given a title. Suddenly, a man shouts, calling for an emergency meeting. They suspect Arianne of foul play. Everyone agrees and rallies for a meeting. Arianne knew this would happen, so she thought of a plan ahead of time. The next day, Rudin's maid helps him prepare for the meeting. She asks him if he's all right in attending the meeting, especially since Duke Crow will be present. He assures her he is, even sounding optimistic that it could turn out for the better. The maid, confused, asks for clarification. He explains that the current system must change in the Harpian Empire. He points out the unequal treatment of women, which reminds him of his mother. Back then, Rudin didn't understand the unequal treatment between men and women. To him, both were equal. He once asked his maid why she chose to be a maid when she's clearly capable of doing more. I wish he had more time with his mother. He was taken aback by her response, saying that she's just a woman. He pauses, then asks her if his mother died just because she was also a woman. The maid didn't know what to reply. From that moment on, he vows to address that issue when he ascends to the throne, but he doesn't expect the opportunity to come so soon, all because of Arianne. As Rudin heads to the meeting with a stern face, he's determined to make Moser pay for his action, to the point that not even the Duke Crow can help him. While the meeting starts, Arianne sulks in her room as she wasn't allowed to attend the meeting despite being the one involved. Madeleine asks Arianne why she requested an autopsy of the wolves in the tournament. She explains that someone tried to mess with her and she's simply trying to show him something. The crowd firmly suggests to invalidate Arianne's victory. However, Count Marionis hints that they should just award a new winner, hinting his son as the winner. One argues against his suggestion. He proudly boasts that his son, Derude Marionis, caught 6 wolves. Char provides Derude's night exam results, showing he barely passed and his marksmanship isn't the best. He doubts that Derude killed the wolves. Suddenly, Rudin enters the meeting, inviting both Derude and Arianne. As they enter, Count Marionis wonders how his son managed to catch 6 wolves, admitting he doesn't possess any shooting skills. Did he really take someone's prey? Count Marionis feels tense, calling Derude a fool for leaving a trace of his crime. Rudin interrogates Derude, asking if he truly killed 6 wolves. He confirms. He then asks him what weapon he used to kill the wolves, and Derude presents him the rifle he used during the hunt. Rudin corners him with the information that the 6th wolf was shot with an arrow, when he just confirmed he shot all 6. Arianne tells Rudin that she caught the 5 wolves using her own personal ammunition with personalized bullets that engraved the letter A. Count Marionis makes a baseless accusation, saying the Duke or Second Prince assisted in killing the last wolf, as he believes that a woman isn't capable of hunting a pack of wolves. I can see where Duke Rude takes after. Arianne continued to explain that someone had shot the last wolf using an arrow, but she has no idea where it came from. Nevertheless, she is thankful to the savior who saved her in a critical moment. Aide asks for Derude's final words regarding Arianne's testimony. Derude knows his fate is execution, but he wants to make sure that she doesn't win. He shouts and lies, saying the Duke Cayenne and Second Prince helped her since she couldn't carry the wolves' carcasses. Suddenly, the doors open and Prince Pacu enters. The Emperor, shocked at Prince Pacu, asks him what brings him to the meeting. He asks for everyone to hear his testimony. He confesses that he witnessed Arianne fighting the wolves alone before shooting the last wolf to save her. He also witnessed Derude and Holterband threaten Arianne into giving them her prey. To further prove his testimony, he presents the Keltman bow and arrow he used to kill the last wolf. Arianne is lost of words upon knowing that it was Prince Pacu who saved her. The Emperor asks if the bow and arrow match the carcass of the wolf. Aide confirms that they do. Derude, down on his knees in devastation, They have no choice but to give Arianne the title despite her being a woman. However, the crowd still argues over the suspicions in capturing the prized animal, suggesting the tournament to be invalidated. A day before the meeting, Mozart argues with the Emperor, insisting that Arianne shouldn't be given a title. But the Emperor tells him to take responsibility for his actions, reminding him of his promise to the participants. If he refuses, he will lose his position as the crown prince. Duke Crow has no choice but to support Arianne in receiving the title to secure Mozart's ascension to the throne. Marquise Hood firmly opposes granting her the title, reminding Duke Crow of the impacts of giving women titles. This enrages Duke Crow. He asserts that the Emperor's laws must be followed. Aside from the capture of the prized animal, it is also confirmed that Arianne is the one who killed the wolves, prompting the Emperor to adjourn the meeting. The Emperor announces that the title conferment ceremony will be held in a week. He adds that the sentences of De Rude Marionis and Halter Ben Wales will be discussed the next day. Arianne is pleased to hear this. She approaches Prince Pacu, knowing his testimony greatly helped her in getting the title. She asks him why he helped her despite being punched in the face during their first meeting. He replies that he simply didn't want to see an innocent woman in distress. He then excuses himself. Chart calls out for Arianne, expressing his joy at receiving her title, but Rudin interrupts, asking her where Emily is. She brings Emily. Rudin embraces his ermine as if they hadn't seen each other in ages. She also gives the ring back, but Rudin hesitantly accepts, feeling he hasn't done much to help Arianne. She jokes about keeping it. Chart interrupts the two, asking why Arianne has the ring in the first place. However, in Rudin's eyes, Chart is jealous and teases him. Chart glares at him, sending a cold and dark wave of energy that makes Rudin stop. Both Arianne and Chart announce that they are leaving. Inside the carriage, he expresses his worry, saying she could have been hurt if not for Prince Pacu. Nonetheless, he congratulates her for her recent accomplishments, making her cheeks slightly red. Chart can't help but notice the difference he sees in Arianne. He quickly disagrees with himself, saying it wasn't her who changes, but simply his perspective of her. A unique, strong, free-spirited, and captivating woman she is his betrothed. Can there be a brighter spark than this scene?
So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!